Well, hello, you fabulous interior design professional. Welcome to Business of Design, episode 417. And I suspect you will recognize our guest today because she has been a staple, an anchor, a voice of reason, a beacon of hope in the industry for a long time. Laurie Laizure, she runs the interior design community. And she describes it as a thriving place where those working in interior design and home decor connect to learn, share, and grow their business. Laurie's gift, superpower, one of them anyway, is connecting people. And she understands that as an industry, we struggle with so many of the same issues, and it doesn't matter where you're from, if you're from Boston or Bangladesh. Laurie's a great speaker, a great communicator. She also loves the TV show Traders, which I'm currently obsessed with. So if I didn't love her 100% before, which I did, I now love her 200%. Is that possible? In any case, Laurie runs, as I said, the interior design community. And if you haven't ever checked them out, you really should do that. You can find them on Instagram at Interior Design Community, or they have a website, interiordesigncommunity.com. And this is really a positive, healthy environment that you can meet up with other interior design professionals. So Business of Design has been friends with the interior design community forever. Our stories are so similar. Laurie's going to tell you how she got her start organically. It just kind of grew, and she realized that there was something she could do to help. And it was a natural calling, and that feels familiar. She has experience from when she first started the interior design community before Instagram, and what that was like and how it's grown, what the problems were then and what the problems are now. And we've certainly been talking a lot about the evolution of the industry since Business of Design launched 20 years ago. Laurie has an event coming up in March. I believe it's March 27th and 28th, and it's a design edge. You can get more information. You know what? I tell you what, let's hear from Laurie specifically how this event is going to work, because you can still sign up to participate in Design Edge, which is in Phoenix, March 27th and 28th. Here's Laurie.
We are doing this Design Edge event where we are gathering groups of 7 designers with brands. There are 16 brands at Design Edge for a in-depth conversation where they can talk about the problems in the industry and what we with those specific brands, like, hey, we're having a problem with your shipping. And more importantly, how to collaborate together. Like, how can we have access to their PR agencies when we have a really particularly great project? And how can we leverage their reach when we have have included this brand in our project and we want them to share our images? So how do we work better together to gain more market share? That's sort of the goal of that conversation. And that's why we're really excited about it. It's going to be a unique opportunity to really have a real seat at the table with senior leadership for 16 brands.
I knew it was better if we heard from her because she's got all the information at her fingertips. I would love to go to that event. Unfortunately, I am not fortunately, I guess, I'm going to a wedding in Dallas. So that'll be super fun. I'll be nearby, but won't be able to participate this year. It's a wonderful show. We're glad you're here. Some quick announcements from Cheryl. And, it has to, I hope it doesn't need to be said, but I'll say it. You really should become a member of Business of Design. Very different than the interior design community. Our mission is to teach you how to run your business and run projects. And we have 2 streams where you can learn those 2 separate skills, which are vitally important if you plan to make clients happy and make money and build a nest egg and love your job again. I promise we can help you do that. So businessofdesign.com. Let's hear from Cheryl.
Thanks, Kimberly. Well, with that lead in, let's talk about Business of Design membership. It really is a blueprint for running your interior design business and your projects, because those are 2 different streams, as Kimberly mentioned. And all of our programming is included with membership. The main difference, we want to encourage you to become an annual member. We want you to take the time to completely transform your business. And of course, you can do that month to month, but we want you to go into it with the mindset that transformation isn't going to happen overnight. You will see results with every single system that you implement. You're going to see immediate improvements in your business, but it's going to take time. And we want to help you along that journey. So in addition to monthly coaching that you get with either monthly or annual membership, with annual, you're also going to get spot coaching from me anytime that you need it. Shoot me an email. We want to know what you're working on. If you have questions as you go, especially if it's time sensitive, if you're implementing into a project right at that time, you can't always wait until the next meeting to get the answers that you need. And we want to provide you with that support. You really do need to implement for results. Taking the programs and completing those courses is only part of the work that you're going to do with us. So head to businessofdesign.com, become a member. If you have any questions, reach out to me, Cheryl at businessofdesign.com, and we would love to see you within membership.
Good morning, Laurie. How are you? Oh, wait, it's not morning where you are. You're on the East Coast today. It's noon.
It's noon.
Time. It's so good to see you, Laurie. I feel like, well, we've gotten to spend a little time together recently at High Point Market, and then I came on your podcast, and we've always been huge fans of the interior design community and know that you're the queen behind that. And why don't we just start by talking about how you even got in a position where you decided to launch IDC?
Sure. Well, it was completely by accident. I did not intend to start interior design community or care as much about designers as I do today. But I was originally on Twitter chats. I had a wallpaper brand that was new to the industry, and I knew that this material was going to take off. I had many years of experience in the printing industry, working for manufacturers of canvas and watercolor paper and ink for giclée printing. And they came across this material that I thought was really fun and special and going to have a place in the world of interior design, and that was peel and stick wallpaper. And I wanted to try to introduce, and then of course it was new. No one had heard of it yet.
Yeah.
And I really wanted people to hear about it that would make really beautiful photos. So I really knew that should be interior designers, and I wanted to get to know them. And at the time, I was learning a lot about websites, SEO, digital marketing, and I knew designers were struggling with that also. So I thought, let's have a conversation about that. And I was trying to do that on Twitter and not having a great success at getting deeper. It was just like 120 characters.
Yeah.
And Google Plus.
As an aside, don't you miss the old days of Twitter though? Wasn't it like just a happy, lovely place to be?
It was just when there was no ads and social media,
Yeah.
that was the dream.
It was a dream. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so I understand why you started there. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it had limitations.
This is pre-Instagram time. Facebook was the thing. I had built up our Facebook business page, but we were starting to get algorithm restrictions on that. So I was on Twitter, and at the same time, Google Plus was a thing. And it was very important in terms of like SEO because they would automatically index your links. They were building something called authorship, which would put your photo next to topics that you have experience and authority on. They were trying to build, you were able to build a subject authority.
Right.
And I was excited about that. So Google Plus started something called communities. And I just like unwittingly said interior design community. And it took off faster than the wallpaper business because immediately people were able to have deep conversations with one another about what it is we do and how we struggle to find clients and how to deal with people and all of the emotional stuff that goes along with design. And we did see the writing on the wall that Google Plus was going away because they stopped talking about it in their annual conferences. And so I started heavily investing in translating what it was we were doing on Google Plus successfully into Instagram. And we were able to build that back up again too, because it's all about connection and conversation and getting people together and sharing information. And that has been successful for us to grow on anywhere we've put it because it's just so needed in the industry. People are very isolated and they feel alone and they them that sense of like, okay, other people are going through what I'm going through, you know?
Right. We're always kind of wedged between the client's needs and the contractor's needs. And we're always, it's like being a mom,
Yes.
but
And
you
your
get
own
this
family's
right.
needs,
Yeah.
I actually have a family that also wants me to
Yeah.
give them
Yeah. Oh my
so
gosh. I can understand how people just immediately said, I need this. I really get that. And I love that it was organic. It wasn't some mercenary plan to take over designers and, charge $10,000 for coaching. It was this like real need to connect. And obviously you wanted to tie it to your wallpaper business. But at what point did you realize it's not about wallpaper anymore?
pretty quickly because you get invested, it's probably the same as you have done with coaching. You get invested in humans.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anyone in this industry. I didn't know there was a lot I didn't know. And I was learning so much about the industry and learning so much about the people in it. And I cared about these business owners. I felt like this was something that is a struggle that there isn't anything that is really guiding them and at least giving them that platform to vent and talk about the problems and have other people that immediately say, this isn't you. You're not bad at this job. You're just, this is just a tough job. And, sometimes you have to take it in the face and that's not fun for anybody.
Yeah.
I get it. I understand where you're coming from, and just that little thing that you can do, it changes someone's perspective because they were able to face it the next day without, wanting to give up what they dream of doing. And I take that seriously. And I really want to help people do that. And so as I got invested with interior design community and caring about the designers and what they were struggling with, because I listened to all of their issues every single day for even the first year, I understood where they were coming from. Then it made me more interested in that. And how could I help them? And how could I become they have great associations where there are local chapters, but I did feel like there needed to be something that felt like a sorority of the community of the industry where
Yeah.
people could have like the real talk and, wasn't geared toward, legislation or
Yeah.
these other bigger topics, but more about supporting people as individuals.
And I
And
wondered too if being online gave people courage to be more vulnerable.
I'm 100% believe that.
Yeah.
I absolutely they did because they're not, I think when they were, sitting in a room full of like their local competitors, it's really hard to be vulnerable. It's really
Oh
hard
my
to,
gosh. Yes, everybody shows up looking like $1 million and nobody wants to be the person who says, I actually have 3 clients who are currently mad at me. Nobody
yeah,
wants to be that Debbie Downer and it's humiliating. I mean, I'll speak for myself. I found it shameful and humiliating. And I wonder if had I discovered you when I started out, I wonder if I would have gotten further ahead more quickly because I would have had the courage to say, okay, I suck at everything and I'm going to need a lot of help here.
yeah,
But the reality is I did ask people for help, but they just didn't know how to help. So anyway, so our stories are kind of parallel,
yeah.
synergistic, and I love how big your community's gotten, how engaged they are, and the positive energy, the constructive positive energy that you just put into every event you host, everything.
Well, I think it's funny because sometimes I'm critical of myself of sometimes being negative because sometimes my memes are like, look at this person who's so terrible to us, And we all laugh at it. Like I just did a post the other day about a client who's indecisive and then the person's dancing, like, you'll never see me again, And shared like 1,000 times by different designers, and but it's not super like positive per se.
But you get to do that because you're not an interior design professional,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I can't do stuff like that.
No, you can't get away
Clients
with
are
it.
working. They never engage, but I'll show up at a consultation and they'll say, or at the end of the project, this happened recently. We finished a job and they gave me a big bottle of tequila. I'm like, oh my God, I love tequila. They're like, yeah, I know. We see you on Instagram all the time. I'm like, you do? You've never, I had no idea you were even on Instagram. Anyway,
Sure.
so they're watching. So it's kind of like you can say the thing that we're thinking and we can like it and laugh at it, and that's more gentle than us being the initiator of that
Yes.
thought. So
Yeah.
I get why we all go crazy when you say the thing. I love when you say the thing.
Yeah, I love it. I have so much fun making the memes, and I'll even show them. My husband's like seen almost every meme. I'm like, if he laughs at it, usually I know they'll laugh at it because, I just try to make them funny and light, and that's sort of our way of, you know, working with, I would say we have like our questions of the day that are really about our current audience, and that our memes are much more highly viral and shareable and tend to get us more followers.
Right.
And that's how we are able to grow, is having a little bit of both, having intellectual conversation, but also, haha, this is really funny,
Well, it's a really tough industry, and if you can't laugh once in a while, boy, could it be gloomy. So I think you
Really?
need to let off steam once in a while. Do you remember, Lori, when you first started out, the kinds of problems designers were having then? Like, what
Yeah.
were some of those like key problems you identified?
I would say they still struggled with the questions they were bringing me more often were understanding how websites worked, understanding what this social media thing was,
Yeah.
feeling very overwhelmed that they suddenly had a new job on top of their already existing job. That was a real struggle for designers. Like, how do I do this? Why do I do this? Should I be doing this?
Yeah.
Marketing is not easy, and it's not easy for people who don't know how to market. They didn't go to school for that. They didn't train for that. How do they now, spend a portion of their day? And I think there was a lot of, and still, I think that still is an issue
Just
for a
say
lot of designers.
marketing has gotten worse, hasn't it? It's
Yeah,
like, I was math afraid. I was numbers afraid. And I didn't know how to use my profit and loss statement, for example, to make more money or what I didn't
sure,
know all the things it could tell me. But once I learned. It doesn't
sure.
change. It's
Right.
constant. But marketing is like this crazy, it's like herding cats. You just can't, I can never seem to like have to give me 10 damn minutes to enjoy something that's working before they change an algorithm or move a platform or right? Like,
I know I've had to rebuild, like, this is why I do strongly always tell designers, and I wasn't even practicing what I preached myself was, really invest in your own website, your own database, your own email list, talk to your clients, understand them. I know for a fact that is how I'm able to be on Instagram and get the right people to follow me. I could bring up my Instagram right now and show you all my recent followers, and they're interior designers.
yeah,
That's who I'm talking to. That's who wants to follow me.
right.
That is my main core audience because I very much understand you. And I think sometimes the designers don't understand who their client is. What are they afraid of?
Well,
What are
don't you find so often the designers are chasing the followers who are also designers?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
mean, that's not going to get you business. That's going to get you
No,
fun and support when you put a fun
sure.
video up, but that is not the game for
No, and it's okay to have that as long as, like, you can have, we all have friends, we all have colleagues, and that's important part of business, is to have people that you love their work, you admire them, they make you think you could do things differently. Those are important things, but that's not who you are marketing toward. And when I would love to see more designers dive into video. I know it's difficult. We all worry about like what we look like on camera, and is my little waddle showing, and is, my face okay, or whatever. But it's so much more important that we actually get the information out there and what it is we know. Because for as long as I remembered with designers, they were so frustrated that first bloggers, remember, like, oh, the bloggers are out there and they're just taking our images and they're growing a huge account. And then the brands want to work with the blogger and they don't want to work with me. And I'm the one who did the work. I mean, I heard that over and over again.
Yeah, yeah.
And now it's the influencers. The influencers, why are they invited to anything? They shouldn't be invited.
Right.
And sometimes it's just like, you're just mad that they're doing it better than you are, but they are not designing. They're spending their time every day trying to figure out the algorithm and trying to make videos. And that's not easy either. Those are hard. I mean, it's not easy to actually grow a blogging audience. Those are hard. That's a different job.
Mhm.
And it's hard too. And we're not, and it also got, more eyeballs on what you do. That's press,
If they bothered to tag you or credit you, right?
If they did, but sometimes that's like an education on its own, like teaching the bloggers that this is the right thing to do, that if you take that image, you need to
credit
that person. You don't have to do that anymore now with AI, though. I mean, honestly, those bloggers are all going to switch over to AI and, have similar images to yours, but not the same thing. So they don't have to be in copyright trouble ever.
Right.
And
apropos nothing, I got a newsletter from an artist featuring just telling me about her work, and her newsletter contained images from my projects, and I had already purchased her work for clients. I was like, hello? You're using my projects to market your business? Like, wow, I didn't see my name anywhere. Like, oh boy, what a world. So those were some of the early things you saw, but that's a continuing thread.
Yes.
Although you probably, your community's gotten more sophisticated over time because of all the things they've learned.
Oh, sure. Software, has changed. Project management has changed a tremendous amount over the 12 years we've been doing interior design community, becoming a lot more digital. Remember, like the old people would show like their old project binders that were like actual piece of paper, and now they're mostly everything is online.
I remember going to High Point and leaving with like a suitcase, a rolling suitcase full of like, literature.
Collateral materials and literature.
I would catalogs and stuff. And now people want to give you a card and I'm like, no, I'm not.
No, thank you.
I won't. No, thank you.
Same. In fact, I used to always sign up for Press Pass, and in the press room, it was all of the literature from every single brand. And you were given this humongous box, like, I want to say it was like 3 feet by 3 feet. It was huge. And you were allowed to dump in as much as you wanted, and they would ship it to your house. So you didn't have to bring it back.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is so great. And I would dump the first year. I'm like, dump everything in there. I'm going to learn everything I need to learn about this whole industry, and then you get back and you're like, okay, I'm really busy. I'll look at that next month. And then you never look at it. And it's just such a waste of money and time. And I'm so glad so much of that is online now. And
I know that's a really big improvement. Laurie, what are the things that break your heart about our community, my community? Because there are things that
there's so many things,
right? Because we both, one thing our companies have in company is a real human emotion element where there's a real feeling of care and respect and wanting to help. And there are things that break my heart. What breaks your heart about interior designers?
Well, it's 75%, 80% women and 25% male. And many of them are LGBTQ. And that alone is a vulnerable position to be in a male-dominated construction architecture world. So often not getting the respect that they deserve. Often not having to fight for every dollar and justify the time it takes to actually do the work. That is, that's the sad life of an artist in general, like having to justify what you do and how much time it takes to create beauty, but the bigger problems too, like, we just polled designers, and we were talking about this earlier, you and I, that 85% of designers in our community said that they don't feel like they have enough money saved for retirement. Just like business practice stuff. I mean, I am also thinking a lot about, the naming your business after yourself, because I do think that it does impede people from being able to sell that business as an asset down the road, maybe we need to rethink that, you know, as a long-term strategy for interior design businesses, and how we set business owners up for success so that they are building an asset that could be sold someday. They have a book of business, they have procedures, they have repeat clients, they have a way of doing business. That should be an asset. You know, that shouldn't have to just fall apart.
I will
because
say I
they
have
wanna
a
do it.
contractor that I love, and the name of his company is the former owner. He just bought it and kept the former owner's name. And that's true also for Colfax Fowler, right? They still talk about Sister Parish. And so I hear what you're saying, but don't let that stop you from thinking you can sell your business with your
No,
name.
you can sell your business with your name too. And it's
But
just,
I hear you.
this is something to think about, right? And how can we as an industry start thinking about some of these problems, like how there are, if you do the math on the 1% of earners in the country, there are enough projects based on a 10-year remodel schedule for every designer in the country to have 7 jobs every year. And so we know we're not capturing all of the 1%. That's why you see the Ashley furniture truck driving up to the $25 million house all the time, you know, so how do we educate consumers? How do, as a collective, as a group of people who it is in our best interest to educate consumers about what designers do, what they bring to the table, the quality of products that they're going to be able to expose you to. How do we do that?
Oh, sorry. I long for a world where associations will pick up that baton. That is probably their job to do, right? Like,
Probably.
I live for that moment when that begins to happen, because it's really hard just by yourself to educate the world on how interior design professionals work.
But I don't think they can either. I mean, those associations put out a tremendous amount of education every year, CUs, all the
no, I
time.
mean toward consumers.
I agree. But even they are not really fully equipped to do that. What they do, what I think would be would be revolutionary, is teaching designers to do it. Because if you think of who is setting the narrative, it's big companies that have a big marketing budget. That's true. So you've got like Restoration Hardware in every single design blog out there. You have, you know, that kind of thing, like House when they were doing that, you know, these big digital brands that have a really good handle on Google AdWords, you know, and are in everything, you know, but we also, and that's what people think is high end because of that. And you can look at their numbers and you go, okay, well, they have, you know, however many million followers, you know, and they have a lot of money that's going towards ad sales. But I think after following all the designers that I follow on Instagram and all the designers that follow us and talking to them every single day, if you look at their numbers, even though they're smaller and they're micro influencers, they have a collection of people who are luxury purchasers that are following them. And if we worked together, you know, on talking about what it is design really is and what makes a good product and what's a good, better, best for product lines, and we educated the public in a different way through video content, I think we can do it. I think we could change the way it is. It's just teaching designers what to say, how to say it, and how to get those videos out there where they feel like they're looking professional and they feel like, you know, it's representing their brand too. But I think the more we get designers to speak to their actual client and teach them what that is. I mean, it's all those questions that a client always asks you in the process of design, like, how long is this going to take? And how expensive is this going to be? And am I going to run into delays? And what happens if the product that we order is not in stock? Are you going to always try to push a more expensive product on me? You know, those are the things they're thinking.
Right.
Let's go at it front, and we'll start answering those questions. This is what that happens.
About just really targeting who you're trying to attract on social media. Right? I'm disciplined and I can spend my time talking about travel and tequila. And that does attract some of my clients, to be honest. Some of my clients have high-end travel. And so they go, wow, I can't believe you went to South Africa. What was that like? So, but when I'm more disciplined and focused and really speaking just to that client I want to hook, I can see the results happen in my business immediately. So it is
Sure.
kind of about just getting back on track. And again, I think community is amazing for that, right? Because we
Right.
remind each other. We
Right.
our meeting we're in, somebody says, "Oh, I just did the following thing, which helped with marketing." You're like, "Oh, right. I need to do
Yes.
that too," right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so much of it is understanding and having true empathy for people who are going through something. Remodeling is not easy. It's expensive,
Oh,
takes
yeah.
a lot of time, it's very stressful on your relationships. We have to remember that who they are and what they're struggling with and what they're dealing with on top of like all of the things that they have to deal with. They're now remodeling a home or building a home, and it's taking longer than they expected, and they're really frustrated with their husband because he likes something that they hate, and all of those things that happen all the time, that we know happen all the time, and that we will sometimes feel annoyed by. I mean, that's just part of it. But to also have like empathy for them, because this isn't easy for them either, you
Yeah.
know.
And we know that
And
from when we've done it for ourselves, right?
sure,
Just
it's
a challenge. It's just
every designer is like, oh, my own house, forget it.
So I asked you what was sort of your initial learnings when you first started your community, and then what kind of breaks your heart now. I'm curious because for Business of Design, it's been a 20-year journey for us, and where we started, like literally begging designers to charge for the consultation and to raise their rates to something that could put some food on the table, from starting there to now talking to them about generating wealth and funds for retirement and extra profitability and all that, we've seen a big change in the number of designers who are more sophisticated and who are ready for that conversation. So that's our evolution. We're now focused on generating not just making a living, but generating true independent wealth. What's been the arc for you, and where do you see your leadership with the community?
I agree with you. I mean, that is definitely something that I am very passionate about, that designers make a living and are able to actually have a savings, and they're thinking about their future in this, instead of getting that great project, investing more in, you know, it's tempting when you get this great project, you have to invest more in photography, and you want to get more press, and you want to get a PR agency, and you want to spend all that money you just made, but not having any retirement savings. That I think is scary. I don't
Sure.
want designers in that situation at all. We started the podcast a year ago, a little over a year ago. And the only reason, you remember when we used to do the Google Plus
Oh,
webinars
yeah.
years ago. And so I knew the commitment that it takes to do. And I was like, no, thanks. I know that it's already being covered. I don't want to get in there. But I noticed that we had a lot more designers through COVID that were feeling burned out, and that hasn't changed. We polled our audience yesterday. Are you feeling burned out? And like 89% of designers said yes. So that is not great, not
No, I would
great.
say that's not good.
And we would like to give them tools to manage stress a little bit better,
Mhm.
because part of that is we're living in very uncertain times, and it's very scary for a lot of people. And it's hard to navigate your business in a world where you don't know what is to come. Like, what about what's going to happen with the tariffs?
Right.
What happens if I've already quoted my client on a product, and then due to tariffs, when I actually go to order it, it's 25% more.
Right.
I don't have the answers for that, but it's
Right.
something that we should be talking about, because we're impacted directly
Yeah.
and have to deal with that, educating our client too about what could be, and really having those conversations now. Um, and on top of all of that, the world and the stress and having confrontational conversations all the time because everyone else is stressed out,
Yeah.
and they take
Just
that out on
general.
service workers, and we're service workers.
Yeah, yeah, true. And just kind of a general disintegration of civility. There's kind of like, That's disturbing. I think that's really disturbing. So yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't see that in our community. I don't see
I
that.
don't, yeah, there were pretty, I can kind of keep, there are a lot of, we have 9,000 designers. So there are a lot of different opinions, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so um, I haven't too many times ever had to delete comments or shut
No.
those kind of things down that get out of hand. But occasionally it does happen.
Yeah.
Um, but very, very, very rare. Most of the time, people genuinely want to help one another,
Mhm.
you know.
I think
Um,
that's a big instinct for a lot of designers.
yeah.
They do feel like they're going to be able to help. I think it's really fascinating. Business of Design has looked at different ways to create leadership groups. And one of the things we did is we interviewed and sat in on and got involved with groups for builders, for contractors. And the difference between the conversations they're having and the conversations that we're having, for example, at High Point, was so shocking to me, and the costs for joining their groups. So one example, Builder 20 they have groups, I don't know how many groups they have, but many Builder 20 groups, 20 builders in one group, and they're all over North America and Australia, Canada. Anyway, it's $10,000 a year, every single year, plus whatever it costs to do the meeting. And in our community, I know so few designers who feel like they could afford to make a commitment like that. And the Builder 20 groups travel twice a year. They go to somebody's hometown, like Australia, and they tour all the guys' projects in Sydney. And then they go to Cape Cod the next time and they tour all that person. So in addition to the $10,000, there's all the expenses for travel. And the guys love it. And they keep members for 20, 30 years. And they become like dearest friends. And they make huge profits. And then many of them work with interior designers and think what we do is in some way less than what they do. And I just
Absolutely.
don't see it that
Absolutely,
way.
they do. I've had
Right.
many conversations
I
with
just don't see it.
contractors.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So I like to see our industry be the same level of profitability because we have the same level of risk, whether we like it or not. We do have the same level of risk.
I would love the same thing. I would love that when, the designers are brought in earlier in the project, I would like that they are able to be treated as an equal on the project. I would like for the infighting to cease because sometimes it's about who makes what on what material, you know what I mean? And some of that stuff can get really testy and you could have like you brought in the contractor and then the contractor is going behind your back and talking to the client and telling them that you don't know what you're doing and that they should just fire you or they
That's
should
the
work with
last
you.
time you use that contract.
Yes, but
I
it
know when
happens
it
all the
kind of
time.
yeah, it turns into an episode of Traders. That's
Yeah.
my current
Yes.
obsession. I'm watching.
Me too. I've been watching Traders too.
Watching season 3. What season are you on?
I am all done the US well, I'm current on the
You're
US
caught up?
season and I'm already watching the British season because
Oh,
I'm
stop
in
it.
season 2 to the British season. There's like I think there's like there's three at least 3 different traders from different
Are
parts
you
of the
there?
world. There's a British and I think there's a Australian or something.
Oh
I'll
my
do next.
gosh.
But
Would you
next.
ever go on a show like that?
I think I would be great at it.
I think it'd be so fun.
I think it really I was very surprised about the US version in comparison because the US version they pick a lot of like reality stars.
Right.
In the British version it's just just regular people.
Mm.
And I was always like where's the I was telling my husband where's the stiff upper lip British people because they cry a lot more than the Americans do, like a
They
lot
do.
more. They do. And I think it is an emotional thing, but it also like there were Harvard studies about this years ago that an informed minority will almost always beat a uninformed majority. And so really you have an amazing advantage if you are a trader, picked as a trader. Just by doing that, you
Yeah.
have a lot better chance of winning. And so far that's proven
Yeah,
most right,
that's very true. I don't know I have just in the middle of season, or we just kind of started season 3, but Tom Sandoval. Oh my gosh, get rid of him. I don't, it
Why?
doesn't have
Why?
anything. Like, out of here. Bye-bye.
Why? I
Team
know. I just
Ariana
thought,
all the
and he's
way.
such a dum-dum too. He's just like, oh, I think you're the traitor. And it's like, obviously somebody who's not the
I
traitor. Like,
know.
no one's going to listen to you, Tom.
No, but the producers know that. So I suspect, I don't know. I suspect they'll
Of
keep him
course.
around for a while
Like
because
Britney
just,
Spears' husband, you're like, who? I don't even know who you are.
I know, whatever. Yeah. That's so funny. I've never met anybody who said that they would go on it. I totally wanted to be on Big Brother Canada. I'm like, oh, I totally want
Oh,
to be on that show, but probably a good thing that I wasn't.
I
I
would
have
say
enough to do
so,
with design clients. The last thing they need to see me do is playing Big Brother. But
right? Oh gosh, they'd be like, that's
yeah, exactly. All right. Well, if there's ever an opportunity, I'll keep you in mind. I'll find out.
Thank you.
I just think that would just it'd just be a way to be completely out of your real life into something so immersive, you know,
Yeah,
total recharge of your battery.
absolutely. And challenging a different aspect. I am a very strategic thinker, so I would be thinking about strategy the entire time, but I know I'm also very, very emotional person and I'm sensitive and I like to connect with people.
Yeah.
So that would be very, really difficult for me because
Oh,
I know I would get in there and start liking people and being like, oh, I don't want to kill them. They're so nice.
yeah. If I had to betray a friend, that would like a friend, meaning someone I grew fond of it during the duration of the show, that would kill me, you
I
know.
know.
Uh,
I'd be in tears. I'd be the ball bag and they're going, oh.
Maybe
But
that's
I
easy
also
enough not to go on the show. I'm such an ugly crier.
I am surprised they don't kick off like the smarter people first. To me, that is such a downfall in strategy. I'm like, I would be asking everybody questions if I were a trader to find out who is like the other strategic thinkers, who's going to put and sometimes the very first person they kick off or the first, second, third person they kick off are like, why? Why are they kicking off these people? They're just dumb. They're not gonna know at the end anyway. So keep them, kick off the people who are going to pick you out of a crowd, obviously.
I'm trying to figure out how to bring this back to our conversation. We need to like think of all of our clients as like the cast of traders and who
It
we
could
get
be.
out of and who we want
How
to keep.
often does it actually happen that you start the project, you think that these people are so fantastic, and then you're like, all right, they're not so great.
Right. Is it me or is it you? You know,
Right,
I
right.
like to make sure I don't have what's my part in it. I think that's always really important.
I
Lori,
think
I
that
really,
you are so great about that. And I can tell people that if you are out there looking for a coach and you're thinking about it, I always think a major green flag of any coach is somebody who says, I didn't do it well. And I went and investigated how to do it well. And that's why I can give you this advice. Because I would be wary of somebody who is coming in and talking about what a great coach they are if they can't explain that they've been down a different path, because I find that's the best way to actually, you have to be in a position where you actually had a hard time to really spend a lot of time investigating how to do things correctly. And I mean, that's a big motivator. So I always love a coach that has that story because to me, number one, you're doing it for real.
yeah.
And number two, you're willing to admit the vulnerability that it's hard and that you had problems. And to me, that's a huge, huge, huge green flag in any coach. They should be able
Yeah.
to tell you that.
Pain is highly motivating. And I've discovered, and this is not a good thing, I have a pretty high tolerance for pain. I'll put up with low-grade misery and even kind of mid-grade misery a long time on a project before I give up and surrender. And I wish that I would surrender earlier. This isn't working. It's mildly uncomfortable, so I'm going to change things right now, but I'll wait until it's miserable before I'm
Right.
willing to make a change because change is scary, right? Change
Yes.
is
Yeah.
scary. And that's again why I think at a community like the interior design community is so important. You've got to be able to go somewhere and with no makeup on, your hair is not done. You've got to be able to go and be vulnerable and tell people like, I'm good at this and this, but yeah, I'm really struggling here for real, and I need help. And
Sure.
hopefully somebody is moved to give you, the help that you need. I do think the industry has changed, and I think part of the reason are, platforms like yours, Laurie, where people are like, wait a minute, I don't have to do this alone anymore. I don't have to struggle and be alone.
No. And we love it when just yesterday I had designers who were hanging out together, and when they send me a photo because they're together, and I'm just like, it just like makes my day every time that happens, because we've made friendships, like real friendships within the community, and people who go to market together, and people who room together, and people who are in each other's weddings. And
Oh my
it's so
gosh.
cool. It's so cool.
I'm excited about the future. Of course, I'm a member at IDC as well, and hopefully I'll be more active in future. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you do next, as usual.